Okay, good morning. Today I'm going to work on disassembling this part of the shifter. Quite a bit of instructions just for this. I'm going to take a photo of this before I get too far into it. What I want to do, everything that I do is going to be focused on this notch in the threads. This faces the back of the car or the driver, and this is the front of the car. This is not symmetrical, so I want to make sure I take a picture of this. This is the pivot. There's two C-clips. I'm going to knock those out. Get a small screwdriver and pry it out of there. Okay, one C-clip removed. I just removed one C-clip. I pulled the pin out. Pin pulled out very easily. Now it says to remove it out from the bottom. So there we go. Pushed it out from the bottom. There we go. So here's one of the instructions. Remove the flanged head pin from the shaft that couples the gear shift rod to the shifter lever using a center punch slightly smaller than the pin and driving out from the crimped end of the pin. Note, the flange head pin will not be reused. This is the pin they're talking about. Here's the flange end, here's the crimped end. Pound out from the crimped end. Did I luck out buying the center punch kit? And there it is right there. I have no idea what this is. This is a 5/32 center punch. Alright, I am going to place this on some wood and see if I can knock it out that way. That was really easy. It actually punched out no problem. Carefully remove the gear shift rod and retain the small cup spring washers that will be found under one of the ears. Yep, right there is a washer on the bottom side. Slide the shaft out of the shifter, noting which side the snap ring and large cup spring washers are located. The snap ring is on the bottom side. Oop, came right out. So the pivot is right here. The shifter looks to be about from the pivot center to center in the pivot. I'd say the shifter is about 1 3/8 inches shorter. And then there's a difference here of approximately 1/2 inch or maybe 3/8 of an inch as well to where the linkage goes. This is shorter, which moves you less, and this is longer, which will make the actuating more. So even though this is shorter, it's also being reduced by the difference in here. Now the next step is step 14. Prepare the Hurst billet plus shifter for installation by lubricating the bearings, external surfaces near the bearings, and bottom holes in the shifter using the grease supplied. Now somewhere I saw online people were complaining about this being a tight fit and galling. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm just going to very lightly, I have a flat file and I'm going to just very lightly take any burrs or raised edges off here. Be very careful. This is aluminum. All you're looking for is a burr, a rough spot. You don't want to really remove any metal. You don't want to change the way it's on there. I'm going to just clean this really quick. Okay, now I very lightly hit that with a file, and let's see if it made any difference in how this fits on here or feels. It didn't make any difference. It is a nice tight fit. Prepare the Hurst billet shifter for installation by lubricating the bearings, the external surface near the bearings, and the bottom holes in the shifter using the grease supplied. Position the shifter on the workbench with the threaded end towards you and the knob retainer notch facing down towards me. Knob retainer notch facing down. Lubricate the gear shift rod shaft and slide it into the Hurst shifter. Alright, I just cleaned off the shad. So now it says lubricate the gear shift rod shaft and slide it into the Hurst shifter from the left hand driver's side. So it says position the shifter on the workbench, threaded end towards you, knob retainer notch down. Lubricate the gear shift rod. Lubricate the gear shift rod and slide it into the Hurst shifter from the left-hand driver's side, making sure that the two large cup spring washers are facing each other and the retainer behind the snap ring in the original location. Rotate the shaft so that the center recess is facing upward. There's a center recess. And this side is just round. Here's a center recess. Lubricate the small cup spring washers and place them onto the recess. Lubricate the small cup and place them on the recess facing each other. Okay? Align the gear shift rod ears with the hole of the gear shift rod shaft. Okay, so the next step is to align the gear shift rod ears with the hole in the gear shift rod shaft, making sure that the small cup spring washers are in place under the upper gear shift rod ear. Lubricate the supplied double grooved 6mm pin, and this is the pin that's replacing the flanged crimped pin that they had us punch out and they said would not be reused. So here's the 6mm pin. This one looks symmetrical, which means it shouldn't matter which way I put it in, but I am going to need these two small clips. Lubricate the supplied double grooved 6mm pin. Align all parts and insert the 6mm pin. Well, it makes more sense to put one of these E-clips on first. I don't quite understand why that's not in the instructions. It's positive stopping on one side. It makes no sense to me. Insert the supplied E-clips onto the grooves. Well, you want to put one on, first. Absolutely. Now I have to make sure everything is aligned, and it may not be. There it goes, and there it went through. And boy, there isn't much room here, but it should go on. Let me get a small screwdriver and just kind of put this E-clip on. There it is, guys. Okay, that was step 15. There's a very long step. Now, step 16. There's 17 total up here on the bench. Step 16, lubricate the inside surface of the pivot where the shifter will make contact. And that's these two surfaces that I very lightly hit with a file, a very fine file. And I used a double cut file instead of a single cut file. Single cut files are actually designed for soft material, which is meant it would have cut more, and I didn't really want to cut more. I was just looking for a raised surface. So let me lubricate this again one more time. Okay. Lubricate the inside surface of the pivot where the shifter will make contact. Insert the Hurst billet plus shifter into the pivot from the bottom, making sure that the knob retainer notch will be facing the rear when installed. Note, the lower notched opening in the pivot will be positioned on the driver's corner. The lower notched driver's corner. I just know, I took pictures. I didn't look at the notch, I looked at this. And for me, it's going in this way. Very carefully slide it on. You don't want it to gall, although it shouldn't. Okay, I've got my notch on the back. I'm going to double check a photo just to make sure everything is in place. Lubricate the gear shift pivot pin previously removed and slide the pin back into place, securing the shifter into the pivot. Install the new E-clip. Two new E-clips right here. Lubricate. Lubricate the shaft. Again, I'm going to put one E-clip in first. It makes total sense. Really, that's missing from the instructions. There's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't put one in first. Then it positive stops, and it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to put one in here. Boy, that fits really loose. I'm not sure I like that. I don't think I like that. I can just easily, I'm sorry. These E-clips are bad. All right, that was bad. I have my own E-clips. I have metric and inch. It's not a bad idea. If you're going to be working on these vehicles, there's multiple places that have E-clips, and not a bad idea to get your own. Boy, honestly, this doesn't look any different. It's a 9mm. It doesn't look any different. Shit, it doesn't fit any different. Okay, I'm putting in 8 9mm. That 9mm E-clip is wrong. This is an 8. This is not. This is so much better. I put an 8mm. I need to make a note of that. Okay guys, this was very poor. They really screwed up with this. I've handled this so much that the grease has come worn off. Okay, position it through. Position it through. Position it through. I'm going to just take it out, actually, believe it or not, and go back down through it this way. That pushed the grease through really nice, so I'm going to push it back the other way so the bearings get hit from both sides. Okay guys, it's in. I'm going to turn it over, put another 8mm stainless steel C-clip on this side. Alright, I have some leftover parts. I've got the original clips that I took off. I'm going to keep them. I took the pin, I know it's damaged. I'm going to keep it. I might need to reference it for whatever length, diameter. The two E-clips that Hurst supplied, they're wrong, or at least I'm not comfortable with them. Here's the grease, so everything moves. This moves really nice. Shifter installation back into the car. There is a total of, well, there's a lot. There's 16 steps. I have to go under the car. The very first step, I'm not going to show you, the very first step from inside the vehicle, place shifter and pivot assembly into its housing, making sure that the gear shift rod is positioned towards the front. Do not install the pivot blocks or shims at this time. Then we go underneath to align everything. I'm not going to set up the camera just to put this in. Before I put this back in, I'm going to make sure, I still have some grease left. I am going to make sure that I have this covered in grease like it was when I took it out.